Hookup. One day before my wedding, I saw my fiancé with another woman. I could have ignored it, pretended it was nothing, but I hired a private investigator instead. And what we uncovered in the dark was far worse than I ever imagined. Full story. The soft chime above the glass door rang as Vanessa stepped into Bellamore Bridal, a quaint shop tucked away on a quiet street. The air smelled faintly of fresh roses and lavender polish, the kind used on the antique wooden floors. Sunlight spilled through the tall windows, painting a golden glow over racks of white and ivory gowns. Vanessa's fingers skimmed across satin, lace, and chiffon as her mind wandered to tomorrow, her wedding day. A nervous excitement buzzed in her chest, the kind that made her cheeks warm and her heart restless. She had always pictured this moment, standing in a boutique, trying on the dress, imagining Christian's face when he saw her walking down the aisle. The shop assistant, a cheerful woman in her 40s with her hair in a neat bun, approached with a wide smile. "You must be the bride," she said warmly. "Let's get you into something magical." Within minutes, Vanessa stood in front of a gilded mirror wearing a gown that made her heart stutter. Delicate lace sleeves, a fitted bodice, and a skirt that swirled around her ankles like a cloud. "The dress looks amazing on you," the assistant said. "You'll be the most beautiful bride." Vanessa's lips curved into a shy smile. She turned slightly, watching the lace catch the light. For a moment, all her nerves melted away, until she heard a voice she knew. Her head snapped toward the door, and the air seemed to thin. Christian. Her fiancé was standing at the entrance. But he wasn't alone. A tall brunette with perfectly styled hair and a fitted red coat was beside him, laughing softly at something he said. They didn't look like co-workers browsing casually. They looked comfortable. Vanessa's chest tightened. Before the shop assistant could even react, she stepped back into the row of dresses, hiding behind the layers of white tulle. Her hands clutched the fabric as her heart pounded against her ribs. The assistant glanced at her, confused. "Miss, aren't you going to pay first?" Vanessa shook her head quickly, whispering, "Oh no, you've got it wrong. I'm not trying to steal anything. Just thank you." She peeked through a gap in the dresses. "Welcome," the assistant greeted them. "Can I help you with anything?" "No, thank you," Christian replied casually. "We're just looking." Vanessa's breath caught. "Just looking? Looking for what?" The brunette smiled at him. "What exactly are we doing here?" she teased. "Are you one of those girls who dreams about their wedding?" Christian asked. "Of course I do. And I also wanted to have such a handsome groom like you." Her tone was playful, but her eyes lingered on him in a way that made Vanessa's stomach twist. Christian laughed. "Maybe one day, if you're lucky." Vanessa's nails dug into her palm. She watched as the brunette plucked a dress from the rack. "What do you think if I try some of these and you say, 'What do you think?' Why not?" Christian shrugged. The shop assistant hesitated, glancing between the dress and the woman. "This one might be too small for you," she said politely. "Unfortunately, we probably don't carry sizes as much as yours." The woman's smile faltered, but she quickly brushed it off. Vanessa turned away, her thoughts spinning in a storm. That woman was all over my fiancé. Could there be something between them? Her heart hammered with a dread she didn't want to name. By the time she stepped outside, the winter air felt sharp against her cheeks. She could barely feel her feet moving down the sidewalk. Do I confront him? Do I let it go? No. I need to know before I walk down that aisle tomorrow. The wind had picked up by the time Vanessa reached her car. She sat in the driver's seat with her hands gripping the wheel, staring straight ahead while the heat from the vents fogged the windshield. Her phone buzzed. "Mom, how's the dress fitting? Can't wait to see you tomorrow, sweetheart." Vanessa's thumbs hovered over the screen. She wanted to type something cheerful, to pretend that everything was fine, but her mind kept replaying that scene in the boutique, Christian laughing with her, the way they stood close, their shoulders brushing. She didn't send a reply. Instead, she opened her browser and typed, "Private investigator near me." The office was not what she expected. In fact, it wasn't an office at all. It was a small, dimly lit diner with peeling wallpaper and a jukebox in the corner that seemed permanently stuck on the same Elvis Presley track. She'd been told to meet her contact here, but the only man in sight who wasn't a trucker or a teenager was sitting at the counter in a threadbare coat, holding a paper cup like it contained the last drop of coffee on earth. When she approached, the man looked up. His beard was overgrown, his hair a little wild, and his eyes surprisingly sharp flicked over her with quick assessment. "Vanessa?" he asked. "Yes. Are you Greg?" "That's me. The best in the business." He grinned, revealing a chipped tooth. "Master of disguise, too." Vanessa hesitated. "No offense, but you look like a homeless guy?" Greg interrupted. "Perfect, isn't it? No one notices the homeless guy. People talk freely around me. Secrets slip out when they think you're invisible." She blinked, unsure if this was genius or madness. "And you really catch cheaters like this?" "I catch everything like this. Cheaters, liars, thieves. My disguises get me places you wouldn't believe. Now, tell me about your guy." Vanessa found herself pouring everything out: how she'd met Christian 3 years ago, how they'd planned the wedding down to the tiniest detail, how she'd never had reason to doubt him until today. Greg listened, nodding occasionally. "When did you last see him act off?" "I'm not sure. He's been working late a lot. Said it's because of a project at work." "Any unusual purchases?" "Jewelry? Perfume?" "No, but he's been secretive with his phone lately." "And today," her voice faltered. The image of Christian with that woman flashed in her mind. I need to know before tomorrow." Greg's tone softened. "If a man hides his credit card, his texts, or his time, it's rarely for good reasons. But here's the thing. A faithful man will stay faithful no matter the setup. A cheater will always take the bait." Vanessa swallowed. "So, what's the plan?" Greg leaned back, eyes gleaming. "First, I'm bringing in my partner." The bell above the diner door jingled. A man about Greg's height, with messy blonde hair and a leather jacket that looked like it had survived a motorcycle crash, walked in carrying a brown paper bag. "Vanessa, meet Ricky. Partner in crime." "Not literally." "Most of the time." "Pleasure," Ricky said, offering a lopsided grin. "Greg tells me we've got a possible cheater." I love these cases. Their method was chaos disguised as strategy. The next day, Ricky strolled into Christian's office building wearing a bright orange vest and a fake health department badge. "Attention, everyone," Ricky announced. "We've had reports of a rat in the building. Gonna need you all to clear out while we handle it." Employees groaned and started packing up. In the commotion, Greg, still dressed as a homeless man, slipped past security and into the top floor offices. He moved quickly, his fingers brushing over the boss's desk, eyes scanning for anything with fingerprints. Within minutes, he found what he needed, a water glass smudged perfectly. "Bingo," he murmured into his earpiece. While Ricky distracted the staff by chasing an imaginary rat, Greg pulled a small device from his coat and pressed the glass's fingerprints onto a thin film. Seconds later, the boss's locked computer screen blinked open. Files appeared. One of them caught Greg's eye, a hotel booking in Christian's name. When Greg returned to the diner that evening, Vanessa was waiting in a booth. He slid the paper across to her. "Tomorrow, we set the trap. We put Christian in a room with the woman you saw him with. If he makes a move, you'll know. If not, you'll know that too." Vanessa stared at the paper, her stomach twisting. "And if he's innocent, then you'll marry him with peace of mind," Greg said simply. "And if he's not?" Greg's eyes held hers. "Then you'll walk away knowing the truth. Either way, you win." The night before the trap, Vanessa lay in bed staring at the ceiling, the shadows of the ceiling fan blades sweeping slowly across the walls. Her wedding dress was hanging by the closet door, wrapped in its protective bag. She should have been thinking about flower arrangements, her vows, or the music for the reception. Instead, her mind was stuck on one thing: the image of Christian standing beside that brunette, Laura, smiling like they shared a secret. She barely slept. The next morning, Greg was already at the hotel when Vanessa arrived. He wore a dark jacket, his hair combed neatly for once. Ricky was there too, sipping a soda from the hotel cafe. "You're late," Ricky teased. "I'm early," Vanessa shot back, checking her watch. "They're not even here yet." Greg spread out a small diagram of the hotel floor plan. "Room 208, Christian's room. Room 210, your observation point. And they'll just end up together?" "Exactly. The booking says management complimentary stay." Ricky's planted the note saying the company has covered a room for employees because of a building emergency. They'll think they've been upgraded for the night. Vanessa's fingers tightened around her coffee cup. And then I watch. Greg gave her a reassuring nod. No pressure. Remember, a faithful guy won't take the bait, no matter how tempting. At 5 p.m., Ricky's phone buzzed. He grinned. They're here. Picked up the key from reception. Game on. Vanessa's pulse quickened as she followed Greg into the adjacent room. They cracked the connecting door slightly, just enough to peek through the sliver. Footsteps in the hall. Laughter. The door to room 208 opened, and Vanessa froze. It wasn't Christian and Laura. It was two young interns from Christian's office, both carrying laptops and looking exhausted. "Where's Christian?" Vanessa blurted, stepping out into the hallway. "He went back to the office to finish a project," one of them said. "Deadline's tonight." Greg's brow furrowed. "And Laura?" "She went with him. Said she'd help." Back in room 210, Vanessa paced like a caged animal. "This doesn't prove anything," she snapped. "They could be working. Or not," Greg said quietly. He glanced at Ricky, who smirked. "Plan B?" Ricky asked. "Plan B," Greg confirmed. An hour later, Christian's office building went dark. The elevator stopped between floors. The electronic doors leading to the stairwells clicked shut. Greg and Ricky, moving like seasoned pranksters, had sealed the place from the inside. Vanessa sat in Greg's van, watching the live feed from a small hidden camera they'd placed earlier. The image showed Christian and Laura alone in the open plan office, surrounded by the dim glow of emergency lights. "So, what do we do now?" Laura's voice came through the speakers. "Wait it out, I guess," Christian replied. "Security will figure it out soon." Vanessa's nails tapped against her knee. Greg leaned back in his seat. "Now we just see what happens when boredom and isolation kick in." Time passed slowly. Christian and Laura chatted about work, then about weekend plans, then about childhood memories. The conversation drifted in and out of teasing territory, but never crossed a line. Then the lights went out completely. "Great," Laura sighed. "No power. It's fine. Probably a protocol thing," Christian said. Vanessa held her breath. Laura shifted closer. "Why does it have to happen to me right before my wedding?" she said softly. Maybe this wedding is a mistake." Christian's reply was sharp. "Laura, stop. That's inappropriate. We're just colleagues. You take the couch. I'll put some chairs together." "And I don't want to hear anything like that again." Vanessa felt her chest loosen for the first time that day. He'd shut her down completely. "He's not cheating," she murmured. Greg raised an eyebrow. "Not yet, at least." But the relief didn't last long. Minutes later, Vanessa's screen showed Laura pulling a small vial from her bag. She tipped something into Christian's drink when his back was turned. Vanessa shot up from her seat. "She's drugging him." Greg was already grabbing his coat. "Looks like Plan C just kicked in." Vanessa didn't even remember getting out of the van. Her legs carried her across the parking lot, through the glass doors, and into the lobby of Christian's office building as if they had a mind of their own. Greg followed at her heels, muttering into his earpiece. Ricky opened the service entrance. "We're going in." The door buzzed, and they slipped inside. The emergency lights painted everything in pale yellow shadows. Vanessa's heels clicked against the tiles as she strode toward the 5th floor, her pulse hammering in her ears. She pushed open the office door without hesitation. Laura was sitting at a desk, swirling the contents of a glass. Her eyes widened when she saw Vanessa. What are you doing here?" Vanessa's voice was low and steady, though her hands trembled. "I saw you. You put something in his drink." Laura set the glass down quickly. "It's nothing. Don't lie to me. I know you're in love with him. I know you've been trying to get him into bed." Laura sighed, shoulders sagging. "I already understand I have no chance with him. He loves you." But her gaze flicked toward the hallway. "But what?" Vanessa demanded. Laura hesitated, then said quietly, "He's not alone. The night cleaner is here." Vanessa blinked. "The cleaner?" Before she could ask anything else, footsteps echoed from the utility room. Christian emerged, not with a mop or a bucket, but with a young woman in a maintenance uniform, her dark hair pulled into a messy bun, cheeks flushed, eyes darting between them like a guilty child caught with a stolen cookie. The cleaner shifted uncomfortably, murmuring, "I should go." But Christian touched her arm. Vanessa's stomach dropped. "When were you planning to tell me you cheated on me?" Christian froze. Vanessa, it doesn't mean anything, okay? It was a mistake. A mistake? He stepped toward her, hands open as if calming a skittish animal. I was tired, stressed. I wasn't thinking straight. Vanessa, I love you. We have a wedding tomorrow. Her laugh was sharp and humorless. No, we had a wedding. Now, there's not going to be any wedding. Christian's expression twisted into panic. Vanessa, please. No, she snapped. You ruined everything yourself. The cleaner mumbled an apology, backing toward the door. Laura, still sitting at the desk, looked almost sympathetic. Greg stepped into the room, planting himself between Vanessa and Christian. She said let go, he told Christian firmly. Christian's hand dropped to his side. For a moment, the room was silent except for the hum of the emergency lights. Greg guided Vanessa toward the exit. She didn't look back. The cold night air hit her face like a slap, sharp and bracing. I'm sorry, Greg said quietly as they reached the van. But at least you found out before it was too late. Yeah, Vanessa said, her voice breaking just a little. Thank you. How much do I owe you? Greg shook his head. Don't worry about it. You've got enough going on right now. She nodded, swallowing hard. The truth hurt, but it was cleaner than the doubt. And now there was no doubt at all. The next morning, the sun rose over the city like it did every other day, warm light spilling across rooftops, catching in the glass of tall buildings. But for Vanessa, it felt like it was shining on an entirely different world. Her wedding dress still hung in its bag by the closet door, untouched. She didn't bother to unzip it. Instead, she was pulling clothes into a small suitcase, jeans, sweaters, her running shoes. On the nightstand sat her phone, lighting up every few seconds with new messages. Christian, please talk to me. Christian, I can explain. Christian, Vanessa, don't do this. She didn't reply. She couldn't. Greg arrived at her apartment just as she zipped the suitcase closed. He didn't knock, just leaned against the doorway with a coffee in hand. You ready? Vanessa nodded, picking up the suitcase handle. Yeah, I'm done here. As they walked toward the street, she asked, what happens to people like him? Greg shrugged. They keep making the same mistakes until someone stops forgiving them. She gave a small, tired smile. Guess I just stopped. The city was waking up around them. Buses rumbling, shop doors opening, the scent of fresh bread from the bakery on the corner. Life moved on, whether you were ready or not. Vanessa slid into the passenger seat of Greg's van, staring out at the passing streets. She didn't know exactly where she was going yet, but for the first time in weeks, she knew she wasn't walking toward a lie. Some endings come with tears, but mine came with freedom. I didn't walk down the aisle, I walked away. And maybe that was the best I ever said to myself.